Welcome back to the LCS. We are here with our Verizon post-game interview. A victory for Golden Guardians against Cloud9 and LeTigress. This was the first for you after being 0-13 against Cloud9. How are you feeling after that win?
0-13 is pretty rough, but I mean, it feels pretty good. I would say, like, I'll have to get a win against them when they have their full roster here, so just so it really counts. But I mean, always good to take a win.
I was wondering how much that would impact your joy off of this win, but I think overall there is still a lot to be excited about. A win for Golden Guardians here at the start of summer. What did you learn from yesterday coming into this game? Because we saw some adaptations in draft as well.
I don't know that we actually changed too much in our draft priorities or anything. It's just like we were on red side and the draft just went a different direction, and I think we ended up with a really solid one and everyone played really well, so it was a nice easy game.
Any thoughts on the type of meta that we're seeing evolve? Kayle top being seen across multiple regions now?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really punishing picks that you can pick in the right scenario. Like, I think there, Kayle was just a really good answer to their whole team comp, and you just have to be really careful when you're drafting that you're picking picks that are strong. And I think that's why I like in the LPL, they just pick Fiora, because they're like, well, like, I'll just beat you up. I like that.
Aside from the draft, we were all wondering what to expect from this team too, because you did have the roster change, Stixxay coming in. Can you tell me a bit about that decision and how much time you spent with him coming into the split, considering he was still playing and coaching for Golden Guardians?
Yeah, I mean, Trevor was around the whole time I've been here, but all of last split, he was like in the room and there and watching the games, and like he was really involved. And I can't speak too much to like the decision, but he's a really good player. Happy to have him back. Always good to play with him. He brings a lot of like communication for the team, and it's really good to have.
You'll have him with you tomorrow as well, as we are in a super week. 3 games to get through. CLG did get a victory yesterday. Any thoughts on them as your next opponent?
I'm not too sure. I mean, I did see the game, and they got a huge lead early, and then they were able to close out the game. So, I mean, we'll just have to see what it looks like tomorrow. I don't really have any expectations.
We're all looking forward to it. Always a pleasure talking to you, LeTigress. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you.
We've got another game ready and set up to go. Team Liquid and Dignitas taken to the stage. Let's get it all set up on the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you so much, LeTigress, and welcome back to the State Farm Analyst Desk. Great to hear from LeTigress following that Golden Guardians victory.
You killed the curse.
Let's go.
Raz, what's Golden Guardians scoreline?
1-1.
Nicely done. I'm proud of you. That's only going to make sense if you're
We're
on
all
Twitter.
caught up.
Dignitas are going toe-to-toe with Team Liquid Honda in only a few minutes. But before we dive into all that, do you guys like some trivia?
I'm a fan.
Sometimes.
Like
If
trivia?
I can win.
I got a quick.
I've always
I know
won
you don't. That's
LCS
part of the
trivia
classified
segments.
information that the producers were passing me when we were off air. I just have a quick question for you.
Okay.
Okay. 3 supports have won the LCS since Corejj last hoisted the trophy. Can you name all 3 of those
Vulcan,
supports?
Biofrost.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing.
Oh, you're all locking that in?
Yep.
Yep.
Well done. You are correct.
Easy.
Okay. I think a lot of people would be quick to
Boom!
jump over the Biofrost one, which is why I wanted to pull this up, because we got Biofrost on one side, we've got Corejj on the other, and again, already in the summer split, we've been talking about the expectations that we have for this Team Liquid roster and for a player like Corejj. Bjergsen on that lineup alongside him now. Huge expectations. And it has been a moment. It's been a moment or two since Corejj has hoisted a trophy, and I think sometimes that gets lost in the general level of dominance that team can show in the regular season, for example.
Yeah, like yesterday, where they
yeah, I was gonna
perfect
say.
game the opponent. That was pretty crazy. What does it say?
I can't even read that. I don't have my glasses. I lost
Wait, it's gone
mine.
already.
The blind one on the desk.
Wait.
I appreciated it though.
Where'd it
Perfect
go?
games.
Boom.
Okay.
Here you go. Here are all the previous perfect games that have occurred in the LCS.
Oh, we're going all the way back to Vulcan days. Not the support.
Well, it's everything
Yeah,
in the
not-
LCS ever.
Yeah, exactly.
That is
Yeah.
a team name, not the player. Yeah, there's been 7 total, including the one yesterday.
I am so sorry, Complexity. The fact that
the first 2 come
Complexity got double first game,
That's
perfect game.
Complexity
That's
is a
insane.
part of a lot of really interesting you know, like historical
LCS
LCS
lore.
beats. Yeah, exactly. Things like that, as well as 82 Minutes to the Dream, obviously.
Oh,
Everyone's
God,
going to
yeah.
remember that game fondly.
2 Cloud9 perfect games.
Yeah.
Winning.
Hey, they've been pretty
Congrats.
good, you know, a few times in their history.
Yeah, the major storylines, you take a step back on this one. The fact that there are only been 7 perfect games in the LCS and Team Liquid Honda was able to do that just yesterday. When we were asking all those questions, specifically Mark is like, this team needs to perfect game them.
Yeah.
Dominance. That is the picture perfect image of dominance this game.
And I want to call out, obviously, we already talked about Core, but their bot lane, the fact that they locked in a pushing bot lane that they could play around. We're also going to see the Olaf that you love so
Yes.
much, Dash, coming
disgusting.
out of Bwipo, which is really, really gross. But I did want to highlight how well their bot lane played, how well I think they can take these picks like the Lucian Nami, play the 2v2 super, super well, and then take over the game. We already talked, or they talked on Cast a little bit about Lucian Nami and how we feel about that lane. I think TL is like the perfect team to pilot that and be able to play around.
Yeah, what a disgusting post-game breakdown.
Yeah.
It looks rough
It's
for
insane.
IMT.
And I agree with you, Emily. Their bot lane absolutely is the focus. The double bubble that we saw from
Ooh,
Corejj,
yeah, that was
the
great.
gank setup that was there, the easiest gank setup you could possibly have, but I expect that to be the case when you're ganking for core. And then Hansama in the team fights with his Lucian was just cleaning up. So it felt like this team was on point the entire offseason, just boot camping in Korea, the whole focus of recognizing in retrospect the failures of finals weekend when they went up against Evil Geniuses. And it felt like they had that chip on their shoulder and they smashed it.
I feel like this team, as a super team, sometimes they are like, oh, we can all carry, but I want some people to be a little bit more selfish, and this bot lane, like you're saying, can be exactly that. Hans and Core can play the aggressive matchups, more Lucian Nami, Caitlyn Lux, I don't care, whatever it is like the strongest bot lane in the meta, like you can start indexing more towards them. You know, if Bjerg is going to be the facilitator on TF or whatever it is, like that's cool. I just want them to like lock in and really get good at one playstyle while having the others in their back pocket, where in spring it felt like they kind of were just passing hot rock of like, who's going to be the carry today?
Yeah, well, and that's why I'm so glad that they did go with the Lucian Nami. Obviously, it had to be left up for them to take it, but I like seeing a team where we have expectations of them taking the split. We want to see a 17-1 run, something like that, or akin to that. Okay, great. When you're left those opportunities to take the game from an early point and just completely snowball over your opponent, and you're good enough to do it, I want to see you go for it. I don't want to see you rest on your laurels, pick all the scaling comps, and just say, well, we are better, so we'll outscale and win that way.
And talking about the bot lane transitions really well into talking about Dignitas, right? Because last split, the main point of carry was, okay, we're going to play stuff like the Caitlyn Lux, we're going to have a pushing bot lane, we're going to have River come around and play through bot.
Yeah.
And the problem we had highlighted is, well, you know, Fake God was pretty shaky in a lot of those matchups playing weak side. Gamsu was supposed to kind of help fix that, right? I thought Gamsu was fine, but what happened was they gave up an early triple kill to
Pretty
Palafox.
disgusting.
And then, you know, that kind of bot side of the map fell apart and the mid lane fell apart. So now we're looking at Dig and we're like, okay, if you don't have this identity as like, we're going to smash bot 2v2, which we already talked about, is super hard to do against TL anyway. What else does Dig have for us?
Exactly. I mean, Dig is going to be playing a more controlled game around River. Sure, if he gets his ganks off through mid or bot lane, great. That's going to give them a good early advantage. But a lot of the times, Neo and Biofrost won't be going for 2v2 kills, much like Hans and Corejj will. That's probably the best attribute that Core has as a player is in his different iterations of bot lane, with double lift, with tactical. They are just strong 2v2 duo that will look for kills if the window's open. So like, that's going to be something that Neo and Biofrost have to be aware of and playing around, and River absolutely will be playing towards the bot side of the map. That's kind of an expectation for Dig throughout the split, honestly. So want to see that bounce back from Dignitas.
Yeah, I think just last game, hopefully you can be, it's the first game of the split. You give up 3 kills right away to Azir.
Feels
Like,
bad.
just write that one off. You know,
Yeah.
like, that's not indicative, hopefully, of what's going to be this team's future. Just because, like you said, Gamsu's supposed to be a role player. When the bottom half of the map catches on fire, it's like, well, that's not the greatest lens to view how Gamsu is going to be doing or necessarily what their team's win cons are.
Speaking, though, of him needing to be a rock or have that, you know, sense of stability in the top lane, I don't think Bwipo will be an easy opponent to establish that against, because he is the kind of player who's willing not only to pull out a pick like an Olaf and play somewhat, you know, but also follow it up with rather the aggressive playstyle as well. So I think he's really going to get tested here today.
Yes, teams will look topside, Emily, and you'll just counter pick him or try and chip at Gamsu. That's going to be the strategy. I wonder if that's going to be the case this time around.
Yeah, and I mean, Gamsu is going to have to be able to soak that pressure. And then the issue is, like, even if he does, if Bwipo still gets out of control on something like an Olaf, that's still going to be pretty ridiculous to have to deal with as it gets into mid.
I mean, the thing about being the weak side guy for people like Gamsu or Impact historically is you can't be the, ooh, I'm eating good tonight guy. Like, you're not the person that the other top laners are circling on their calendar, like, this is the guy I get to style on, good. Like, that's not what being weak side means. It means that you don't get exploited. And so that's where I want to see Gamsu actually step up a little bit more. He didn't get exploited by Dokla, but Bwipo's going to be a little bit harder of a competition, and, like, you're not going to get resources. So can you be like Impact, who, when he was on weak side, did not get steamrolled? He was able to thrive without resources. That's what a really strong weak side player is.
Dokla did have some choice words yesterday, though, in that
Dokla had a great interview.
about
We might see some more of that again.
overall abilities. So he definitely thinks that Gamsu is maybe somebody that can get taken advantage of. Again, it's only one game of the split. We'll see what he's got. Another fun little factoid to follow up on that trivia that I had earlier. Biofrost is also one win away from his 200th LCS win. So if he is able to take it here against TL, he will hit the 200 milestone, which is a pretty epic milestone to say the least. And then what a team to do it against.
Hashtag
that to be your 200th win.
200th win.
Yep.
Quick, production, make a full screen graphic of the total wins. I want to see Biofrost and then everyone else around there.
The fastest
the producer was instantly
the fastest
as he was saying
from production.
I was trying to help.
But I'll tell you this much: you did get them to get us off of the analyst desk.
They want to cut away from
like,
you.
that's it. They're like, Dash, get us out. All right. So with that, we're going over the Doug duo who are swapping into Cass for the rest of the day. Phreak and Azeal, take it away.
Thank you very much. Hello and welcome back. Doug Duo once again reporting for duty. I don't know what the salute was about.
I don't know.
It's not part of our thing.
Somehow it seemed to make it just cheesier.
It definitely made it cheesier.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell the salute was for.
I don't know. Maybe, the green sweater.
Yeah, I'm just
some army vibes.
That's me. Clearly fit and ready to go, doing some push-ups. Hoorah, Gunny. All right, let's get it going. Dignitas versus Team Liquid. I was the roommate of an ex-Marine for a while. He was an Arabic translator. So I know
like
a little bit of
osmosis,
No. The man, no. But I just know like a couple terms because I lived with them for like 3 years.
Okay.
Anyway, Team Liquid coming up the back of a perfect game. Dignitas coming up the back of a loss to CLG. And what's interesting is I think it's anyone's game just because it is early on. I think the drafts have been so varied so far that you can pivot wildly from what game one looked like. Be like, okay, we can fix all this. And we saw that with Golden Guardians earlier. So Dignitas, I mean, they have been Giant Slayers for so much of this year from lock-in onward. So always think it's in their possibility.
Yeah, it's absolutely possible. But to be honest, I do think TL is heavily favored, right?
Sure.
This is our first place team from last regular season. I do think that they're very good in best of ones overall. They're a pretty stable team. I know that they spent a lot of time boot camping in Korea and really kind of prepping. And also, I just kind of think that this is like the perfect patch for them, playing that kind of more like scaling style. I do think Bwipo as well, in particular, like this is a guy who, you were looking up, how many champions he had played. He has such a deep champion pool. But I think a lot of the champions that have kind of like actually risen to prominence are things that he really excels with. I watched a lot of his streams, boot camping in Korea. This guy played an enormous amount of Olaf and Swain, and like that's how he was really kind of like climbing up to high in Challenger. He was dominating, has super high win rate. He obviously played a lot of other stuff too, but I do think some of those champions that are kind of new in the meta are things that Bwipo is really happy to play immediately. We got to see the Olaf yesterday, which was cool because I wasn't certain we were going to see it after it got the mid-patch adjustment. It got nerfed, and then everyone kind of just stopped playing it top, at least that I had been seeing. But it's great to still see him bring it out. I mean, he did the most damage in the game. He was really, really dominant in that one. Olaf with Stridebreaker is incredibly threatening. If you can't get away from him, you can't get the ultimate off of him, he becomes really, really strong. So excited to see if he's going to bring out more of the Olaf, more of some of these new picks. Like this Swain would be really fun to see as well, but I do think Swain has some tough matchups top lane.
Oh, for sure, right? Like he's not terribly tanky until he's getting the stacks up and the ulti for the drain tanking, and so relatively attackable. Minions will block his only CC in the game, and you can just dodge the W by right-clicking at any point in time in the next 5 seconds. It's like the inverse Morgana thing. Like you get infinite time to dodge this, and then just nothing happens to you. So the stat you mentioned about Bwipo's champion pool, though, 20 unique picks across the year so far. Olaf was number 20 yesterday. Gamsu's actually played 14 more games than Bwipo and has 5 fewer champions. Now, as far as like champs per game, like Gamsu's like at rate of other LCS top laners.
15 is still a deep champion
Right.
pool.
Like Impact has another 15 games on him and has like 2 more champions.
Yep.
Right? Like, and obviously, you know, there's like that logarithmic curve of like you can't play 130 champions in 130 games realistically. So yeah, Gamsu has a champion pool, to be clear. Bwipo's that much above him.
I mean, Bwipo is that much above basically
Everyone.
every top laner in the league, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the better point. You know, it's not a dig on Gamsu. It's more like, wow, Bwipo has an incredibly deep champion pool. This guy is willing and confident to bust out really anything. You know, if he thinks it's a good matchup, if he thinks it's the right pick, he's always been, you know, really cerebral player, really intelligent player. You know, I always think back to, you know, when he was doing 1v1s at All-Stars and how he kind of thought about and approached the 1v1s was like so different than everyone else. And yeah, 1v1 is just like a mini game. But it gave some insight into how he kind of thought about the game. And he had very different ideas on like what would be good picks compared to everyone else, which I just found really, really cool. Was a little bit of a delay on stage for a headset issue, but we are now getting into picks and bans, so should be getting this one underway.
Gonna be fun. I want to see what happens here. Fun to see Biofrost and Bjergsen reunited as well. They both took the split off after a very rough Worlds a couple years back, but now see what can come on next for these two players. As so far, haircut buff has looked good for Santorin. I see that one on the internet quite a bit. See if it keeps going.
Yeah.
As it grows out, he just like his like ping increases.
Gets worse.
Yeah, I don't know. Sent off the table. Not allowed here for Neo and Biofrost.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of marksman bans just in general. I mean, last game in particular, but overall have been a lot of focus on things like Lucian, on Zeri, on Kalista, on Senna. You know, those 4 in particular have been feeling like they're kind of just always picked or banned, or at least a lot more than usual. So it'll be interesting to see if that trend does continue. Lilia getting a ban out here. Interesting if that's more of just kind of like a meta read or a targeted towards River. You know, River, I think, was exceptional, especially early split for Dignitas. But I do wonder, you know, how is he going to adapt to this newer meta where it's more about full clear? Because to me, River was at his best when he was playing Jarvan, skipping camps, and finding these ganks that no one really expected. And the meta is like so far away from that for the most part that it's just like, do 6 camps, do scuttle base.
It's the interesting thing because when he was on PSG Talon, the things he was playing a lot of and winning a lot on were champions like Hecarim, like more heavy clear champions, more selfish champions. And so to me, like his innate, I don't think you flip your whole playstyle in 6 months. I think you can transform over time, and if what Dig needs the Jarvan, and I believe they do, like to your point, like that is when it has looked best. But it's like, hey, we're reinventing, it's Summer Split, the game is different. I want to go back to scaling picks, give me things like Lilia. That is what he's played the most of in his career.
Absolutely, and then I think the question is, you know, who on Dig will step up to really kind of make action happen, and who will be, you know, that true carry in the late game? Because if you do want to have a farming scaling jungler, that's fine, but generally they are there, you know, more to enable your mid laner or your marksman to really kind of get you across that finish line. And if he's not putting them in that winning position, you know, through early action, then Blue or Neo have got to be able to kind of step up and create those leads and create those advantages for themselves. And Ezreal, early pick here, was 4 marksman ban again, surprise, surprise. So those 4 that I did mention, all taken off the table. Karma is, of course, up, so you're not expecting Dig to take it away because...
Karma's Seraphine!
Yeah, I mean, you can go for it. There are some other Karma pairings that people do like, but my expectation is that they're just going to give that over. Ezreal Karma is by far the most common pairing for both those 2 champions, and then we'll have to see, you know, what the response wants to be. Do they even draft a bot laner here, or a support, or is it going to be kind of, you know, breaking that trend?
Yeah, Viego is the most picked champion across pro play in this split. That is, of course, a biased stat because he's never banned. No one's really banning jungles ahead of, I think, mostly Wukong right now, maybe some Lily and whatnot, so he's just always there, and one of the 2 teams tends to want him. Ezreal, of course, with Karma can be quite the bully, but going for Kai'Sa as a relatively scaling option. She's not actually the turbo late game champion, but like a little bit of a weak early lane, and then like really solid throughout mid game onwards.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a shame that we see a lot of these days either, right? Which as soon as I see Kai'Sa, I think you're drafting for dive. And if you're not drafting for dive, I'm like, why are you picking Kai'Sa? Because Kai'Sa is not the best as far as front to back. It's much more, I believe, of the follow-up, kind of assassinating backline. Otherwise, you could just go for like a Jinx or a Felios or whatever.
Yeah, there are better Kraken Slayer, Phantom Dancer champions than Kai'Sa.
Exactly. So will be really, really interesting. The early Trundle here, you know, can kind of just try to neutralize. I do think it's a great Santorin champion. I also think if you're expecting Gamsu is Mr. Weak Side, you know, he's going to play a tank, he's going to play that style of champion, you're kind of like pre-answering that And Santorin has historically just been so good on Trundle, able to find creative gank paths, able to really be strong in the team fights. Also sets up very well for Ezreal. The pillar into poke, I always think is a great combo.
Yeah.
Azir going to give them, answers as far as the team fighting, as far as, that kind of high amount of DPS. But Dig definitely going for what seems to be a lot more aggressive. And Ahri does fit more with that theme, of dive.
Yeah.
And as soon as you see Kai'Sa, you're expecting, or at least I'm expecting, an engaged support. Nautilus was always the super common pairing that we saw for many years. But I do think you can go with Alistar, you can go with Leona. TL may want to try to limit some of those options. There's also something like, banning out an Ornn, perhaps, if they're concerned about that from Dig, from Gamsu, because I do think that's a great weak side champ, and I do think that could be the answer. But, I mean, they could also just, fifth pick their top laner for Gamsu and try to get a more aggressive option. It's also worth noting that we didn't see TL grab the Karma, which was a little bit of a surprise. That they went for the Azir that early on, I guess concerned it was going to get banned out. So Karma will fall through, and of course is going to get banned as a result.
Yeah, of course. Going to be looking up global champion data in a second, but one thing I noticed, because I saw a lot of talk from Evil Geniuses in interviews and a lot of their staff on Twitter saying, wow, we're in a really, really slow, really scaling meta, no action.
Yeah.
And I'll once again quote Broken Blade from the post-game lobby of LEC, where he's like, no, we're not in a really slow meta, just its team is kind of warming up and getting kind of acclimated on stage. No, that's not the right play style. And he played Yone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's scaling pick, but still an aggressive pick. LCS is most of the Corki Azir Victor picks, globally. And I'll get the stat in a second when I can look it all up, but more than half of the victors were just in the LCS, and that was in one day.
And to be fair though, LCK is also playing, very slow style. LEC overall is playing a very slow style. So it will be interesting to see this develop. I mean, Liquid played an extremely dominant game that was a pretty fast game yesterday. So we'll see if they want to go, for more of that kind of aggressive style in their final couple picks.
Yep.
Mix something in that could make some splash happen on the top side. Was a lot of support bans here. So triple support ban. Overall, they are going towards that Leona, so it wasn't going to be the Nautilus as I kind of looked as the primary option, but going to be that more secondary option, say fifth pick here for Gamsu. So it will be Bwipo blinding his top pick.
Yeah. Updating the stats now that I've looked it up. So this is only top 4 leagues, LCS, LEC, LCK, LPL. Azir is the second most picked mid lane champion. That said, very few bans, actually sub 50% presence. Champions like Talia are way more sought after globally. She's banned a ton and is, I would say, a more aggressive, more game focused option. But you have champions like Victor who are down there at 10 picks, really low presence, 17%. So, they are often up, and TL clearly likes their scaling. Mordekaiser, I think, a great anti-tank option.
Yeah.
And he's a fun champ. Let's see it.
Mord is actually really good. This is another one of those champions that I do think kind of rose to prominence with the durability buff. We were seeing a lot more of Mord, high amount of sustain, a high amount of percentage HP damage, really able to kind of do well in these long extended fights. I also think it can be a really strong answer to dive. Because if you actually dive backline as the Kai'Sa and you just get Mord ulted, it is very dangerous. You're going to have to itemize into a QSS potentially very early. Even if you just take him out of the fight, that is the primary damage. Be interesting to see where Gamsu does want to take us. Hovering the Jace, they are. I mean, they're fine to go physical. They could fine to go AP here as well because they do have physical damage jungler. GP feels more his style, and I actually like that as an answer because you can orange out of the ultimate. So that's always a really nice interaction. You still can kind of push in here and sometimes bully out. If you get ahead, you can really start to shrug off a lot of the damage that GP is doing. But GP, great weak side champion. It's kind of one of the classics, and I think that fits the style of what Dignitas want to do.
Yeah.
You have the GP ultit. You drop that on the head of some of these carries, like the Azir. Leona flies in, Ahri flies in, Kai'Sa there to follow up, and you're trying to enable that dive while just kind of holding and neutralizing Bwipo on that top side. Bwipo notably is, at least for now, hovering that he's going to be starting Ghost, which is really good in the long lanes, especially allowing you to help to kind of chase down that GP if he does push off that tower.
Yep. No, Ghost is really, really good. I mean, flashing once in a while is certainly nice so you can get in range, but just being on the opponent, really big deal. Gamsu is 5-1 on Gangplank so far this year, his 7th pick. This is the 21st unique champion for Bwipo of the year. He keeps adding to the list. 2 unique champs in 2 games so far here in the Summer Split. Love to see it. Big Mordekaiser fan myself. Keep in mind that durability patch made % health damage, which is on Mord's passive better. He has % magic pen as a passive. That got better. Demonic Embrace for melee champions. That got better. So Mord, I think, is eating really well in this version of the game.
Yeah, Mord is really strong, and it's just awesome to see Bwipo, again, bringing out some new champions here that do fit his style. There was a trade bug, I believe, on the Dignitas side, so they're going to have to restart Champ Select, but they will just hopefully breeze right through it. Same picks, same bans, everything is going to stay the same, and then we will be getting right on into game. But yeah, I mean, it gives me hope that some of these other picks I've been seeing him play a lot of in solo queue, because Mord is another one that was really popular for him that we are going to see.
Yeah.
And at the very least, it's going to force some of these opponents to respect the chance that he could be bringing out a Mord, he could be bringing out an Olaf, he could be bringing out these champions that not a lot of people are playing. Mord, really the only person I can remember seeing it from recently was like Impact in the LCS.
Yeah.
He has played it some as kind of a tank answer, and I do think it can be quite an effective one, especially if you're not that kind of like Fiora style player, and generally Bwipo has not been that in his career. It doesn't go with some of those more kind of like squishy split push style champions. Has not been a guy that like is big on the Gwen either.
Yeah.
So this really fits his style. Like he's more of the bruiser style player that I always kind of see.
Yeah, interestingly, this is the first Mordekaiser pick of the Summer Split in top 4 leagues. So Bwipo, ever the innovator, was one of the first guys to bring out Victor top back at Worlds 2017, I want to say 18 around then, when he went to the finals with Fnatic.
That was against LeTigress. I remember that.
Yeah.
Where LeTigress did Echo, right? And then it went really rough.
Yeah, it was. Echo was supposed to, like, solo queue data was a really good counter pick, but didn't seem comfortable in the champion. But yeah, Bwipo has been an excellent top laner for a very long time. I mean, he even had to play bot lane for a while when Reckless benched himself.
And did actually really well.
Yeah. Bwipo can, like, do it all. That guy is great. I'm actually a really big Bwipo fan as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's just such a fun player. I mean, he's extremely expressive. He plays a lot of unique champions. He plays a cool style. He gives great interviews. There's a lot to like, for sure, about Bwipo. And it'll be interesting to see if he can really kind of live up to some of those lofty expectations. Because I did feel like he started off last year, and it was like, oh, Bwipo's maybe the MVP of the league, right?
Round 2 or 3,
And I do think that it fell off quite a lot. He set a very, very high bar for himself, throughout lock-in and throughout early spring, where it was like he was the reason that they were winning, right? He was single-handedly carrying so many of these games. And as the season went on, I think other people stepped up for TL, but I also don't think Bwipo was having the same level of dominant performances. So it'll be interesting to see if he can really get back to those super successful games that he was having.
Yeah, of course, because at the end of the day, right, this is Team Liquid that is like the super team. Like they are. Right, I mean, they bring in the best players, right? Like, Corejj came over as a world champion, and hey, they won 4 splits back-to-back, 2 of them with Ole, 2 of them with Core himself, right? They had double for a while. I mean, they're bringing in Bjergsen, right? His only LCS games outside of TSM, right, goes to this team. And the fact that they got 3rd place in spring, it's like, that was never the goal. That is so far below your expectation for yourself. It's like, you do want to see this team actually play at that level. Hey, they came in angry in game 1, right? They perfect game to Mortals, 7th time ever in the LCS, but like, I need to see them actually start rolling heads.
It's been quite a while since they've won, right?
Yeah.
And as you say, it's like, I think this team was built, with more than aspirations of like just winning. They were supposed to dominate, right? Like I think when you're picking up so many popular players, so many big names, obviously a ton of money going to be put into that, a ton of investment going to be put into that, and the expectation is to dominate. Not only that they would win, but they would crush. It would even have potentially deep international runs and aspirations. So this is a team with, I think, a lot of pressure on their shoulders coming into summer, given that they did not live up to those expectations in spring. They were the best team in the regular season, weren't able to make it happen in playoffs. So all the more pressure on them to really make it happen here in summer, because it's been quite a while now since they've actually won. Everyone really does think of Liquid as one of those absolutely dominant teams, but it's been a couple years now since they've won, and they've been trying to kind of change and evolve and add new players and change things up, but haven't been able to find that champion success really since kind of Doublelift left.
Yeah, and I mean, ever since Corejj won his 2 championships, Vulcan then won twice on 2 different teams. Biofrost, that they're against right now, won his championship. He of course, in Summer Split there. And it's like, well, I feel like the viewpoint, I'm just going to like kind of tunnel on Corejj. I think he's a great player, don't get me wrong. But like, it's like, oh my God, it's Corejj. He's like the savior in A. He's like the best player in the league. It's like, well, here's a long list of supports who have won since you have. And like, I mean, it's been a while since finals at this point,
To be fair, it is a team game.
It is a team game. But he's on, like, the absurd superhero time. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's Corejj's fault, but, like, the continued trend of, like, TL are shelling out for the players. And there's those last 2 championships, right? That, to be fair, at this point, most of the players weren't even on that team anymore.
Yeah.
Corejj is, I think, the remaining member from that at this point. Doublelift's gone, and Santorin, that was like Smithy right back then. I mean, it was Impact back then. So, like, Core's, like, the remaining guy from that run, if I recall correctly. And I needed to see them like reach that line, right?
I mean, 2019 finals was like Smithy and Jensen with Corejj and Impact. So yeah, it's been a long time, right? And obviously, the expectations are high. I'm gonna defend Corejj a little bit.
Okay.
I think Corejj, is one of, if not the best player in the league. I do think he is still played at an incredibly high level. I will give you that in spring. I don't think he played up to expectations. He wasn't as much of a standout. But this guy has been incredible for a long time, and I do think does a lot for the league. I think that the savior of the league is more.
It's a Reddit meme.
Well, no, but it's also more about, I think, what he has brought as far as like work ethic and what he has changed as far as the environment. With practice, incentivizing teams to actually do his in-houses and things like that before Champions Queue was there. He's a big proponent of practicing and really grinding hard and kind of like emphasizing communication in a lot of these games. So I do think he's done a lot of good things for the scene and for the league. So I will defend him somewhat with that.
Sure. And we are remaking Champion Select as the trade bug is happening. I am looking over on Azeal's screen, and Champion Select has just ended. So the players are loading onto Summoner's Rift for Game 2 of the day. And we spent a lot of time talking about TL. Dignitas have consistently done very, very well in the regular season. They have constantly punched above their weight. Gamsu coming in. Meant to be a meaningful upgrade over Fake God. Expectation that Dignitas should be a pretty strong team here, and I would like to see them play to a high level.
Well, one of the things I have to really give credit to for Dignitas is I think that their coaching, their team building is excellent, right? Because when you're thinking about these players, that they pick up, Dignitas is consistently able to build strong rosters that are competitive without anywhere close to the investment of a team like TL and some of these other big dogs that they are scrapping with. So, you do have to look and see like what are the kind of consistent things there, and a lot of that is about the coaching staff. A lot of that is about the GMs and everyone in that org that is really bringing these rosters together that often are better than what you would think, are often better than the kind of sum of their parts.
And it's a mix of good scouting. It's a mix of understanding what players are going to work well together, because that synergy always matters. So we do have LeTigress ready to go with Team Liquid's head coach Kyoto.
Thank you, Phreak. Gilhoto, you're coming off of a perfect game yesterday against your old team in Immortals. How is that going to compare to the results today against Dignitas?
It's a different team, and that's also how we want to take every game. We are not going to let the results of yesterday affect us in either any way that can make us underestimate Dignitas. They didn't have a good game yesterday, but it's the start of a split. Everything can happen, so we are just really focused on how we can perform as a team.
Yep, new team, new player in the top lane for Dignitas as well. Tell me about that matchup in the top lane, bringing the Mordekaiser out. We've seen from solo queue from Bwipo into the Gangplank.
I think Bwipo obviously has a lead compared to Gamsu. I don't think he was even one of the better top laners in Academy. So I'm expecting Bwipo to take over the matchup, and I think that this match is going to be much more related to how both bot lanes will do.
All right, thanks for the insight. Back to the game.
Alrighty, the prediction is Bwipo claps top lane, but bot lane's going to be what's important here and the more important part of this game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I always really like to hear from Gilhoto because he's very honest, right? He's one of the guys that'll give you his straight up opinion. I always respect that. Some people are pretty hesitant to because they don't want to give anything away or they're worried about backlash. But he's a pretty straight shooter, so always a great interview. And it will be interesting to track then that bot lane and see how that does go, because if he thinks that's really going to be the pivotal part of the map, the pivotal matchup there, will Hans and Corejj be able to create those types of advantages that they did yesterday in conjunction with Santorin? Had that really strong early gank. And they worked really well kind of as that three-man squad to really put themselves ahead.
Minions go down to the mid lane, trading back and forth. Nice pullback. Will not put him in a turret aggro, but gets the pass through to knock down a minion as Gamsu keeps trying to spam with Corrupting Potion and Biscuits. Obviously has plenty of mana. The big thing about Gangplank lanes is his mana versus your health bar. That's why Thorn Shield is like such a big deal, because he will get to Q with Grasp. Like, you can't really dodge that. It is going to happen. Getting the barrels, though, is a big thing, because barrels don't cost mana. Barrel auto is here's 200 damage and it didn't cost me mana, so you're running out faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it resets your passive, which is always such a big deal. In this case, he's not in range to actually get those passive autos, but I agree. Getting tagged by those barrels is really punishing, because that can push it over the edge to being, okay, like, I'm actually going to run out of health before he runs out of mana. And that's kind of where we're at right now. Gamsu has used all 3 of his Corrupting Potion charges. Does have to respect the fact that there could be, a gank coming up here, and Santorin is going to be spotted, skipping the blue buff, but was doing, much more of a kind of full clear style. But with that cleared out, you could expect that he'd go back to his blue, but now he has no vision and his trinket ward's on cooldown, so you have to play much more respectful. And you can see him on the map. He's backing off, standing in the side brush there, and is going to have to play it much more safe. So can't really punish Bwipo, who is really low on health. And Santorin could even just go top and help him to reset the wave at this point, or if Gamsu's too far up, you could get a kill.
Okay, Gamsu just burns his passes. The move speed's not going to be there, and yeah, just thinks, okay, he's always got a barrel. If I walk up, he barrel autos, gets the passive move speed, gets it refreshed from the barrel as well, and it's like, okay, not really a play available, so good to always keep the barrel up, always has the option. Looks like he's kind of covered all his bases there. Yeah, Bwipo trying to like ghost E is pretty flashable.
Yep, absolutely. So Gamsu playing it respectful, playing it smart. And you'll notice he basically wasn't trading at all until his trinket ward came up, and then he drops the trinket ward in the river, and he goes back to queuing him on cooldown, right? You know, so I think this is smart, and this is something that Dignitas really was looking for when they picked up Gamsu, because a lot of the criticisms around FakeGod were that he had, avoidable deaths, avoidable kind of mistakes, sometimes playing a little bit too aggressive, getting punished for it. For Gamsu, they're not necessarily looking for the 1v9 carry guy. They're looking for the guy to be able to stabilize these matchups against some of the better top laners, not necessarily dominate, but as long as he's chilling up there, they believe in their talent on the other side of the map. They believe that Neo and Blue and River can really kind of get them across that finish line.
Yeah, and to be pretty harsh towards FakeGod, like this is a team that made playoffs and was pretty solid with a black hole up there. So you get, just like a nice neutron star or something, and this team is sailing, So the rest of the team clearly is very good. Unfortunately, FakeGod had a bad split, right?
Yeah.
Arguably the worst performing top laner by far in spring, and it's like if Gamsu is chilling in 7th in that metric, like this team is going 9-9 or better, and has a good shot at making some moves. So, that is the goal, right? Just like gracefully lose or gracefully go equal, and then like go ult bot lane. It's like cool, like that's great.
Yeah, and I mean that's exactly what you want from GP, and I think this early game, not that it was that crazy anything happening up on the top side, but I do think it kind of exemplified it. He played respectfully, when the jungler could be in the area. Nice little engage on bot side. Corejj is just going to punt Biofrost away. He is of course playing phase rush. The slow resistance is going to help against the glacial augment somewhat. Going to be allowing him to go in and out. But of course, in a full kind of 100-0 all-in, you are a lot squishier than when you're playing with the aftershock.
Yeah, it's basically not a keystone until you're playing team fights where the goal is like, I can WQ or like whatever, I can get it, and then
get out,
I'm running in and I can headbutt you backwards or whatever, right? Flash QE auto puts on phase rush. I can get behind you, I can headbutt you. Like that's the kind of stuff you're looking at in a lot of these cases. Ulti traded now, or just thrown down in the top side as he knocks down part of the wave and wants to take his recall. We'll see if he TPs or walks, but regardless, does want to shop here. Easily has a Sheen. Engage in the bottom side looks pretty decent, but won't get that much done.
Yeah, and I think he had a good read because Santorin was recalling the river beside him again, right? So Bwipo will have the ability to freeze, but his jungler's bot side. Santorin has gone up there twice already, and he's doing fine, right? So he just uses the ulti to reset the wave. He will TP back because Bwipo did hold that wave. If we can get eyes on it, we can see if it's actually a full freeze, and it is. So Bwipo just held enough of the wave, but he TPs back. He gets the Sheen as well as the call here, and he's just going to look to fully push this in. Will reset it. Yes, he'll fall down a little bit in the farm because he based off of that, and he does have to be careful because he has no ulti now. Bwipo is going to continue to try to threaten holding this, but that wave will eventually bounce. He doesn't have that many minions there, so doesn't have to worry too much. And we can see Corejj is actually heading up here.
Goes, he wants to fight. Oh wow, gets the barrel as well. It's gonna look good. His pass is on, so the move speed is easily there. Gamsu has Corejj coming, can hat. Oh, what a flash! Really good by Corejj. Rewards arrive though. Is it gonna be enough? First blood comes to Mordekaiser, and River does not have the damage. Level 6, can he find the kill? Wants to right back on a Bwipo. Health bar getting low-ish. Ulti from the Mord. Stun Q. Flashes away the pullback. At what point do they find this kill though? River just finally gets the passive down, takes him over as the rest of the reinforcements come alive, and Dignitas trade one back.
Yeah, gonna be able to trade one back. Not too bad, but now pressure on this bot side. Neo gonna be zoned off here by Santorin, who's passing the opposite side of the map. They are gonna be losing place. He will likely try to move back up at some point, but he's down a level on his bleeding farm, plus at least one plate there already. 22 and 10 now for Trundle on Santorin there. Really, really impressive career stats. Has been one of his best champions for a really long time.
Yeah, looked really good for him. Great as an enabler. Anytime where he's allowed, just kind of, all right, I'm going to be efficient. I'll make sure your lane's looking good. And frequently stacked with incredibly strong teammates, pretty long laners, who just need that little bit to make sure that it's 100-0. And nice try by Bjergsen. Yeah, doesn't want to take 2 turret shots for it, so that could have been a dangerous, like, charm flash, and you die for stopping a recall. So,
does he have a read that he's in there?
Not going to matter. Nice try, yeah. 3 seconds away from that actually being a flash.
Yeah, pretty close on the timing. They're going to start Herald up on top side. We can watch this one more time. The Ghost popped here early. Flash was down there for Gamsu, and then it just flashed in from Corejj, lands the combo. Gamsu waiting on that W as long as possible, trying to get the maximum out of it. River just waiting out the exhaust. Bwipo, popping the ulti. And River was so patient with his own ultimate. I thought he was going to use the ultimate
here it kills.
Way earlier.
I'm surprised he flashed.
Yeah, me too. I thought he was just going to save the ulti and then use it on the E or something like that.
Yeah.
But maybe he was worried that the W cooldown was up from Bwipo and he would actually get W as he popped in the air. I'm not sure if that cooldown was available, but Santorin again towards topside. TL are spending so much time up here. Good defensive ulti will clear this up, but
killer pullback, gotta say, a lot of damage, and they have enough as Bwipo takes the tower. Yeah, those dives are possible. Team Liquid are swimming in gold.
I mean, just no one's really helping Gamsu whatsoever. I mean, this is, what, the 4th time now? Santorin's been topside. We saw, the Corejj roam up towards top as well. And Dig have not been really helping him out. Gamsu, under his tower, did ult defensively, very respectable as far as the play there. But tanky enough to just be able to pull off the dive. Anyway, well done by TL.
Yep. And as Corejj goes over there, as Santorin goes over there, what do the other lanes look like? Well, Bjergsen's up in CS on Azir. That looks good. Bot lane, 9 CS lead and probably a turret plate. That looks pretty good. So, yeah, TL looking pretty nice over there. That is, I believe, a 5 down at the bottom of the minimaps. Or it's a 3. Okay, so 2 plates have been farmed by Neo. So that is, I think, probably the tax they took as Corejj went topside. So that is something. But it is an 800 gold lead to Team Liquid.
And I mean, Santorin did a good job, kind of evening out the bot lane farm, with zoning off Neo, and that got the plate for Hans. That got a little bit of a CS advantage there. Bwipo very likely has his mythic combined at this point. We'll see if he actually does. I think they got some plates. They did get the kill, so he does have the mythic combined, and that is going to make him pretty much impossible to fight for Gamsu. So Gamsu, if he wasn't already playing super defensive, he's going to have to be just trying not to interact really with Bwipo whatsoever. You're fighting minions. You're not trying to fight Mordekaiser at this point. Dignitas did get a relatively early first dragon, and it's going to be starting that second one on spawn here for River. You can see Santorin heading down towards that bottom side of the map, but I do think he's going to be able to grab this one for free.
Falling close enough to parity. Yes, we're getting some poke from Hansam, but they're not about to die. And because there's mid lane pressure, right? Bjergsen recalled to get his next bit of purchases. Good arcane shift by Hansama. It means that there's enough bot lane pressure that indeed River gets the second one. So on pace, if Dignitas somehow can have pressure on the bottom side for a 22-minute Hextech Soul, a Flash Force as Hansama, had burned arcane shift. I'm surprised he even flashed because you can cleanse that stun. It's a shorter cooldown.
Yeah.
Chooses the flash all the same.
Maybe just worried though if he goes for the cleanse that the E is going to connect to and kind of follow him after, and then he wouldn't have the ability to actually deal with that. Either way, drops the flash there early on. Both supports kind of seeing each other with that sweeper. Santorin again hovering down here on this bottom side. And it seems like now that Bwipo has his mythic, he feels like he's kind of gotten him through the more difficult part of the game. And I think they're looking like they just want to kind of leave Bwipo now that they've got him ahead in this 1v1 on that island. And Bwipo utilizing the W, tanking up a lot of that damage, getting a good trade there. Sweet spot on that Q.
Yeah. That Trinket Ward in the brush, we'll see Krugs as spawns. We'll see the enemy jungler as it goes down as well. Very good spot, by the way, to put it in the bottom right corner. Trinket Wards have pretty low vision. And if you want to see the whole camp and make sure you know everything's going on, that's actually kind of the spot to put it in. You get a lot of vision down there. So even the individual micro choice is actually pretty solid. You can see, even the small Krugs are spotted. Sometimes useful, sometimes you just need to know that they're in that bottom corner. Once in a while, it's actually relevant. So it is, a very minor optimization, but a nice one to see. Because come through in the bottom lane, 1,000 gold lead remains for Team Liquid. Is it going to be enough? Likely, I think they are feeling very comfortable. Just the fact that, Dragon stacking has looking for Dignitas. If you get lucky in 4 minutes time, oops, there's third Dragon. Wow, that's a really, really, tight game to play around.
Zod is in fact going to be cracking here for Neo. Not going Gale Force, not going more for that kind of execution style, diving into the back line. But I still think that's kind of the way they're going to have to play the game. Is look for the engage.
Find the engage, flashes down. There we go. Out for Bjergsen, stays alive for now. Having back on the Biofrost. Stopwatch stays alive. Still free fight for the Kai'Sa. Misses the W, though, as Corejj wants back in. Kansama going to find the kill to Biofrost. River still fighting, but he is low on health, and now that's 0. A kill on the board for Bjergsen. A flash re-engage. Corejj sets it up, and Hansama knocks it down. Neo dodges. No bullets in that fight.
The TL taking a huge fight on that bottom side. Not Dragon even there, but both teams just fully down to scrap. They were driving the Herald, meanwhile, on that bottom lane tower, so knocking that down incredibly low. Hans likely going to be able to finish this one off now. And just like that, TL taking a massive lead in this one. Biofrost had a strong initial engage, and now he's roaming out towards this top side, but Bwipo has the ulti, so there's not really anything you can do here. If you engage as Biofrost, he's just going to ult Leona and kill you.
Yeah, I mean, maybe pull him towards the tower. I mean, the nice thing about her W is that it does block damage per tick, so it'll look pretty good against Mord passive, and if you're close enough to the tower, maybe he's in range and can't go for it, but yeah, no gank down there. Watch this fight. I think they had GP ult for it, which is why they went for it.
Yeah, I mean, they have the GP ulti. The initial engage is great, and I actually really like the placement of the GP ulti kind of behind where you're going to go. I'm surprised that Neo didn't ult in, right? Like, he had his ulti up that whole time. I think if you're going to hard commit to Bjergsen, you've got to get in that backline and execute him, or the fight's really not going to work out. Because when you're hard committing that much, you're sending in the Viego, you're sending the GP ulti, you're flashing in, using all cooldowns there on the Leona. If Bjergsen doesn't die, he flashes out, trades just his flash for that, he's going to return a lot of damage. Hansam is untouched, so the carries really kind of reigning supreme in that one. Yep. Got to be great on that initial engage as Gamsu just barely able to finish the recall, but TL going to keep rolling here, pushing on this top side. No one up there to help defend. So it will be the top lane tower going for TL, and we have to look, can Dig really trade back on this bottom side? Bwipo is just going to be a much better spot to defend. You can't dive this guy when he's that far ahead.
You see all 4 farmers of Team Liquid ahead of all 4 farmers on Dignitas. FTX Silver Gold looking pretty good on the TL side. I mean, this was close. This was 1,000 gold. It's 4x that now.
TL crushing.
Yeah, they are smashing it again. Obviously, no thing like a perfect game. There's only a kill, already 2 dragons, but they have picked up where they left off, which is they are just slapping teams below them in the standings.
Yeah, I mean, and they're showing that, hey, you can actually, accelerate the pace of the game. They're moving around the map very effectively. They are looking for some of these aggressive plays. Really, Santorin's playing Trundle. It's not like some early game beast jungler, but he was just constantly up towards topside. Gamsu was doing okay in the 1v1, but TL just kept sending resources up there, got Bwipo ahead. Once Bwipo had the mythic completed, they're like, all right, Bwipo, you're on your own. You have this winning matchup now. And Bwipo has been very effective from there.
Wow, River just ulted away.
Yeah, I don't think he knew where core was and stuff. He was kind of nervous, I think, that the follow-up was going to be coming through. So, very defensive ult. Dig, I think, wants to continue to play for dragon stacking, but I'm going to be honest. I think if they try to fight this, they're just going to lose. Like, it seems like a almost unwinnable fight from the game state.
Yeah.
They are very far behind. I mean, Ezreal's already on 2 items.
I will say at least it's not Ramana exactly right now, and everyone at least has Mythic. So as yes, there's a 5k gold lead, and yes, it's really TL favored. Does it get better with Azir scaling? Maybe not, and at least you're all on a Mythic here, so you try. But obviously TL not willing to fight for the dragon just yet. They're going to take down mid with the Herald. Tier 2 quite low as well. Pullback only going to find some minions here, but this gives now the map pressure for TL to easily look at the dragon, and now Dignitas are nowhere nearby, so I actually really like the choice made right now by TL. This guarantees it. Yes, Dignitas wanted to try, but it's not going to be anything.
Yep, well played. Neo going to be basing that on the bot side. Does get to push out the waves, so they deny a little bit of gold and experience there, but TL just continue to push out this tier 2, feeling very confident even while they have Azir showing bot, while Santorin, walk past that ward, he's doing dragon. They're just not really concerned about the potential of Dignitas to engage. They have this Azir tower to try to keep them safe, and Hans is just keeping this shoved in. The Murmana now fully stacked up there, and going to be looking really, really good into this part of the game. Neo very far behind at this point, and you can see TL just kind of cruising. X-Flash to threaten there the dive on a Neo, and he's going to have to back up and give up that tier 2 mid, which is just a pretty brutal spot for Dig to be in.
And then an Azir turret is the only thing that has fallen for Team Liquid so far in the last 10 minutes. And those die on their own. You don't have much of a choice with that one. So looking very, very good for the regular season winners of spring. Hoping to make it the same now in summer. But a better track record in the playoffs, they will hope. And what's next for them, though? Bwipo still farming up the storm, feeling pretty good. A lot of ways that Ruby Crystal and Blastoise could turn into. I'm partial to Ryle's. I actually think the slow is more important than the demonic burn.
Me too.
Just locking them in place is so valuable.
Especially with Ghost, I always just feel like the move speed differential then becomes just like, you're just unkiteable, right? Yep. And I kind of feel similarly with Swain a lot of the time, is that, if you are going to be playing these champions that really need to stick on top, Ryle is just so valuable there. So would like to see that as the option. We'll see if he wants to go that direction. I'm expecting it. I do think Bwipo, is going to really place a high value on that move speed, especially since he went Ghost.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to try the attempt now. Good flash by Gamsu. Actually, Bjergsen held it for a second and actually gave him the room to press the button. I don't know if he's trying to say, okay, he's not hitting it yet. All right, I get a chance. Timing is the way it is. Gamsu gets out, but still a much longer cooldown loss for the Dignitas top laner than the TL mid. So feeling good.
Yeah, it might have just been one of those situations where he's trying to eat and say, I'm going to ult you, better flash, and see if he can get it with for nothing. You know, kind of almost like Gragas, he can go for the plays where he just body slam forward from out of range and be like, well, if he flashes, I can't react, so I'm just going to flash now. Yeah. Either way, it's still a good trade, as you said. Does commit the ulti, but really, TL not being pressured whatsoever. There was that one scrap on that bottom side around the dragon that, you know, Biofrost went for the engage. They didn't really get anything from it. And now Dig is just kind of getting bled out of this game. You know, they're being pushed in. They're losing their jungle. They're now going to look for the fight.
Pretty good ult from Hansama as well. Jumps in and Biofrost goes down. W on cooldown. He walked over with it on. Corejj, whatever's going to withstand that damage. Really nice setup. The TL duo lane kills enemy support. This is going to be a lot of damage, though. He's ultiless. That's ultable. Right? Like, did he not have stacks? Did he actually, was that only Q, no auto?
Stacks. I think he's just scared to go in, right? And to be fair, if he goes in there, Bjergsen's standing beside him and Santorin, so you're gonna die.
Yeah,
Is it really worth going in, you know, to kill off the support? It is a couple hundred gold, but I think at that point, you know, it's probably not the one to go for. I think if it's like Bjergsen or it's Hansama and it's a committed fight, it's maybe worth just kind of risking it because you're so far down, right? You're gonna have to take what is a risky fight. Like, there's no more 100% plays for Dignitas or anything close to it. But I think maybe that wasn't the moment. You know, if there's anything this game for Neo, I would be looking back to that previous fight where they were looking for that all-in engage on Bjergsen, and he sat on his ult there. You know, to me, that was really the moment where you're like, well, I think you're maybe playing a little bit too defensive, because if your team is committing ults and summoners for this, and you're just willing to kind of cede that, you know, the fight is pretty much lost, right? Sure. And that's where you have to kind of question. It's like, well, is Kai'Sa the pick, right? If you want to play this style, if you want to play just hitting frontline, I never like Kai'Sa as a pick. I think you have to be willing to dive back, has to be Blue and Neo following up on any sort of an engage from Biofrost.
Yeah, there are, just to sort of put it in terms I like, there are better Kraken Slayer Fenrir champion. Yeah. Right, like, if you're looking for frontline single hit damage, this is the 2-item build. Like, there is no better build than Kraken PD. Yeah. Like, if you're like, I need to get through a Ornn, a Leona, whatever it is, those are the items. Again, there are better champions for that setup. You know, a Kai'Sa, sorry, a Xayah, things like that will look a lot better for you. Nice try on the blue buff there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Core got it. Blue's going to find a slow. They're going to find the ulti across well on someone cleanses. There's the dive in, but Exhaust is in. Neo stealth, but they might have baited in. Santorin nearly gets that kill. Corejj will drop, but I love finally going in for the play. Stealth back out and makes one half. But be careful, they're going to find Mordekaiser for a second. Ulti might have been well timed. Bwipo still holding it, but Neo has to flash. Almost maybe grabbed into the Death Realm. Not going to happen here. Keep in mind, Viego ult will immune a Mord ulti. He couldn't have gone for that one just yet, but a 1 for 0. Dignitas get a little sign of life.
Yeah, and you always got to be careful on Mord if you're ulting someone near a wall, and they can just go over the wall, because he's not playing Flash, right? So just if you ult the Viego and he just ults over the wall, your ulti is going to be wasted. Oh, nice play there.
I do like that one. This time, Gamsu does not have Flash. Bjergsen does, and grabs 300 gold, shares half of that to Hansama.
Yeah, great pickup, and right before the dragon spawning, so pretty much guaranteeing they're going to get that. River should be spotted. Yeah, he's walking over that ward, so Bwipo going to look for him. Does have the ulti. Even if he can catch up to Biofrost, they're TPing in.
Biofrost not going to find the root just yet, but Bjergsen very much alone. Corejj, Santorin on the way. No ulti, summons a turret for a time. Stopwatch coming in is going to be enough now. Biofrost loses W pretty soon. Kai'Sa lands onto a minion. Knockout comes across. There's the pullback. Bwipo's in for 1 second to Santorin, and that's going to be Team Liquid saying, you think you caught us, but we knocked you down.
That stopwatch by Bjergsen was so clutch there. Able to buy so much time. Gets in, spawns the tower, goes into the stasis, buying time for the team. And TL, forget the dragon. They're going to be able to grab the Baron here. Multiple item completions coming in since we last checked in. 3 items for Hunt. It is the Rylai's for Bwipo and for Bjergsen. So really prioritizing those slows there. Going to be able to grab the Baron. Now 9K ahead, 22 minutes in. Back-to-back days, TL are dominating.
Absolutely crushing the opponents. Sub 30 minutes, every single one so far. This one looking dangerously like that one here as well.
Oh,
Fourth
Flash.
Dragon of the game is up. Is there a play to topside? Not just yet. GP pushing the bottom lane. Doesn't go for any more though. Actually, early recall to defend the base. Rebel Baron power play already 1500. Looking for a couple of turrets here to grow that one over 2000 easily. Bot, or mid, I should say. Going to be pretty much a freebie, and here comes the top side look now as well. Bwipo getting plenty of damage, Bjergsen the same. Will there be an engage? Charm not bad in the core, actually has to ult away onto Alistar. Makes them a relatively easy target later on in this fight. They can't get much more done. Inhibitor down to the top side. Mid going to be hard to defend. Yeah, Kai'Sa now showing up. This should be an inhibitor drop as well, and that's going to be map control forever. Well, for 5 minutes.
Well, the game might not go much longer
for the rest of the game.
And Dignitas was not able to even sneak out and grab Dragon, right? So it's pretty rough. There wasn't even a cross-map play for them. We'll see if they want to try to rush over to it now, but I don't think they're going to be able to. And with those Hex Gates on the map, TL just going to rush out, probably be able to grab that dragon, go towards pushing bot, get themselves a second dragon here, eliminate any chance of a soul win condition there for Dignitas, and just continue pushing towards this victory. Looking so good in this one. Back-to-back days, really, really strong smart. They're just going to go straight in.
Santorin has a pillar, just barely cannot grab over that, nearly locks him in. Yes, it'd be an ulti to safety, he'd always live, but could have forced a relatively long cooldown. Feral Chain finds nothing, as well as Gamsu goes towards Ravenous Hydra for a very low, I think it was Hydra anyway, or Tiamat for a high ability haste version of the build. There's the second Dragon Claim, no problem. No objective bounty, no soul point for Dignitas. The first two ultimately mean nothing.
And I mean, it's still over a minute on the Baron because they were so fast at getting the first two inhibs. They're just going to continue the push, right? The wave is getting pushed in here by Bwipo. They're going to look to triple inhib here, and you have to think Dignitas has got to defend the triple inhib. I feel like if you give up that, the game is just over, even if the Nexus has not yet exploded. So we'll see if they're going to try to look for some sort of an all-in, some sort of an engage, but it is incredibly difficult to see how they're going to make it happen.
And it's not going to be at this turret, though. They're not willing to fight enough for it yet. Ulti comes down, no turret, but maybe it's enough damage. They dive in, and it's going to be River just dropping already 1 for 0, and the pullback onto 3. That's everything you need. Dig their grave. In the dirt they go as 3 are dead, and as triple inhibitors are gone as well. We're looking at 25 minutes. Team Liquid are running the LCS by storm, and attempt by Bjergsen will not quite land, but no hope. Dignitas going to be 0-2. Team Liquid top the table 2-0. The Nexus falls, and Team Liquid came to Summer Split to play.
What a start to summer for TL. Crushing their opponents in their opening 2 matchups. Really, really strong stuff. Not a perfect game today, but it's pretty close, to be honest. 12-2. They were crushing Dig. Santorin, really good pressure towards topside, focused on getting Bwipo ahead. Corejj getting up there as well. Once they put Bwipo into the lead, Bjergsen and Hansama were just kind of naturally winning in their matchups. They were ahead. They were feeling like they were already set up for success. And from there, it felt like full control for TL, able to move around the map, find the fights that they wanted. Dignitas had one real attempt, over by that Dragon Pit where they looked for the pick on Bjergsen. They couldn't get the kill. And when they couldn't take him down there, everything started to fall apart. TL got so far ahead, took over the jungle, and really looked like they were cruising in this one.
And right now, looks like the team to beat. Yes, it's early. Not even every team has played 2 games just yet, but they've looked the most dominant in the fact that...
by far.
Yeah, EG, defending champion, they had to do a comeback win to get in, right? Against a team with subs on it, right? And it's like, okay, but they win. Hey, they look pretty good here, but this looks really, really good. Team Liquid look just, quite outstanding, and can't wait to see more of them. Of course, we will see them tomorrow. We'll see them next week. But yes, the aspirations were to dominate. I think they've fallen short the last few years, but so far that track is looking good in this one.
Yeah, and we're going to have to see them, when they do match up against some of those top teams, when they go up against, EG or 100 Thieves, other kind of expected teams at the top of the table, or C9 when they actually get their full roster. Those are a lot of teams that people really are looking at to be kind of that big 4. So those are going to be some very, very exciting matchups. But, you can't ask for more than what TL have given thus far. They have been looking amazing. Feels like the meta is suiting them. And I mean, I think the most promising thing is not that they just had clean games, but that they actually pushed the pace of the game very well in a meta where most people are saying, you have to play slow. It's not about action. TL are finding ways to create large advantages and then finding ways to create action when they want it on their terms to really snowball games to victory.
Yeah, the fact that they feel like they can end fast, right? Like they didn't fight for the first 2 dragons. If it's a slow game, the Dragons is a win condition. Like, no, we don't care. We're going to close before you can ever get soul. So we are heading to the stage to join LeTigress and Bwipo for our Verizon post-game interview. See ya.
Thank you, Phreak. I've got Bwipo here, a 2-0 to start this week for Team Liquid. Can you tell me from your perspective how your time was coming into the summer split and having such a strong start with the team?
We had a great boot camp back in Korea, so I think that helped us a lot in terms of confidence, and I think helped us understand some of the flaws in our gameplay really well. Coming in from a defeat from Spring, I think long term, it was probably one of the best things that could have happened to us. Understanding that we can't get away with just being, the best team on paper. We actually have to work on our issues, work as a team. We can't slack in any department if we want to be the best and showcase the excellence that Team Liquid Honda is known for.
I know that when we talked throughout spring with you and with some of your teammates, you talked so much about how those personalities work well together, that veterancy. Do you feel that that had an impact on your approach to this, saying that it was good to get that loss and being able to make a different change?
Well, of course we wanted to win.
Right.
It wasn't intentional. It's just we're all really capable players, and some of the issues we had in spring were the fact that we just, we didn't place ourselves in the team individually. So when we built this roster, at least, when Steve built this roster, I'm sure he looked at me as like, I'm the weak side player. I should be, Hans core is where you want to have the pressure, and that's the type of team you want to be. And I think that we were too afraid of embracing that and being like, you know what, that's our style, that's who we're going to be, and if you're good enough to beat us, come at us. We tried to be a more, two-dimensional team where, we were like, oh, we should be able to play topside, we should be able to play mid, we should be able to play everywhere. And I just don't think that that's something that we were ready for just yet. And I think that coming into summer, we just recognized, like, look, this is what this team is going to be best at, and we're going to commit to that. And I'm not scared of announcing that, because I don't think there's a single team in the LCS good enough to contest us at that, so I don't mind.
The thing is, a lot of people agree with you with that sentiment, many putting you at the top of their power rankings. You have quite a turnout when it comes to the fans that come through, a lot of screams for Team Liquid specifically.
Thank you.
Are you someone where that affects you, or do you kind of always drown out the opinions of the pundits out there?
I think it's very humbling, and I think that's something that's very good for me, because I tend to be a very cocky player. For example, when I died this game, I thought I was going to kill everyone. I was like, okay, maybe I can't. And then I just stepped down a notch, and I just realized, looking at my own gameplay, making sure I'm very stable and solid for my team is what my team needs. Even though it would be great to be a highlight reel player all the time, sometimes that's not what your team needs. And it was humbling to lose and come into the next split understanding that that's not my job in this team, and I will just try my best to be the rock that my team needs.
I do want to dive into that just a bit, your idea of who you are on this team, but in this evolving meta as well. I know that solo queue holds a close place to your heart. We saw the Mordekaiser there. We saw it today with Ghost. So your general thoughts on what we are seeing unfold in the meta for Team Liquid?
I actually have a very different read on the meta, so it's a bit awkward, because for example, last split I had a very different read too. So I came in and I was like, wait, am I trolling or are they trolling? I'm not sure yet. And then I play a couple of games, and usually I'm right, so I'm very confident that my picks are still very good. At least I can make them work very well, and I'm very confident in them, so that's what I'm focusing on. And I think that's what's important, like recognizing the strengths of my champion and aligning them. Is this what my team can profit from? Is this what my team needs? That's kind of what I've always excelled at in League of Legends ever since I've joined the league back, 4 or 5 years ago, in LEC, now in LCS. Like, I think it's still my strength, and rather than trying to play the best champion for every situation, playing what my team needs, I think that's what I identify myself better with, and I'm going to try and stick to that.
Well, it's always fun to watch you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, and congrats again on the victory.
Thank you very much.
A 2-0 start this week for Team Liquid Honda. On the other side of the break, we have our finals rematch. Stay tuned.
People always ask us, what's it like?
The lights, the crowd, the pure chaos of the game. Savoring the moment of victory.
Back to back to back to back!
And the moments after.
So, what's it really like? It's like a dream.
Okay. How much for a collector's edition squishy pig with holographic cover art? I'm trying to save some cash.
You don't have to sell that. State Farm has rates that fit your budget.
Don't even look at my squish. Don't even look at it!
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or click to get a quote today.
Red Bull gives you wings.